Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Purple Noon, a podcast video. Man, normally I'm just like, whenever I'm recording, I'm just looking all around the room and stuff like that. And now there's a camera because we're doing a little bit of a quickie 40-minute because I'm cheap and I don't have a full Zoom account. 45
Hey, those are
minute.
expensive, right?
They are. They're like, they want 15 like a month for that. Like, sorry, in this economy, I don't think so. I don't think so. I say as I am bled dry every week or every month by the Criterion channel, and it's only to watch one movie and to go on my next mentally ill rift or whatever may be happening.
Oh God.
But yeah, so we're doing a video. So Savannah, hi, how are you? You
Good.
look
How are you?
very, very cute in your little Simpsons Treehouse of Horror shirts.
Thank
I'm
you.
wearing a Metallica muumuu that goes to my knees.
A moo moo.
So we're gonna be doing a little bit new, a raw type of Zoom and stuff like that, just to get some content out when filming a video or anything hasn't been possible. Savannah, you sound good. Do I sound good?
You sound good. You look great.
Great.
Everything.
Great. Excellent. So yeah, and so we survived Hurricane Ian. Fortunately, our area was pretty overall spared
Yeah.
compared to places like South Florida and stuff like that. And we're good. Like we pretty much made unscathed. No, I think my family maybe had maybe a screen repair in like the screen house area, but like that's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah.
So we survived and we're good. And that's why we've also been delayed on creating a podcast. Also, I just started my rotations. So I'm in pharmacy school. I just started a rotation and everything like that. So also it's only for a month, but it is about 40 hours a week. And I'm used to just sitting around and being pretty and all that stuff. I'm not used to actually working. So it's getting a little bit used to and everything. And Savannah, you're still grinding it out in your program and everything like that. And I'm just ruining your chances of any success because I'm like, Bessie, we're going to a concert. Bessie, let's go see this movie. We're going to go to Miami for a weekend.
We got like 5 events
I'm on
this month
school break.
alone.
I am on school break. She is not. She is in it for the long haul. So, but she's a trooper. She's really trying to push her schedule and she's doing great with all that stuff.
I'm rearranging it.
She's
gonna work.
She'll do fine. She'll do fine. I am a tutor. So
That's
in case
true.
things start slipping, I could potentially help, even though it's a totally different field. But I have some movies written down, some movies that we watched together, and we're kind of gonna do like a little quick review and everything like that. So the first movie that I have is the most recent one that we saw together, and you had quite a visceral reaction. You had on the merch, you were in the getup, you were and the disappointment. And so essentially we watched the original Bride of Frankenstein. And we're not those haters that are like old movies. You guys should know by now. We like the old stuff. I've seen Jean Dillon 23 Croix de Commerce. Like I know I've been put through the ringer. But man, Bride of Frankenstein. So Savannah, I feel like you have more of a connection to this and more greater disappointment than I. So speak your truth. Now's the time.
Honestly, maybe I deserve. By the way, if I sound weird, I don't have my mic with me right now. I need to buy an adapter for my new laptop. So
You're good.
apologies. Okay, but this is a lesson to me. I'm going to say why. I took a liking to the Bride of Frankenstein because I saw a few clips and I like the Universal monsters in general. Did I see it before I bought and adapted this to my new list of things I like? No, I didn't see it. I was trusting because I did see I did like the Mummy.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like the Wolfman. So I'm thinking, and I like the monster from was it the Blue Lagoon?
Yeah.
That one.
The
So
Creature of the Black Lagoon. Wait,
yeah, Black Lagoon.
no, is that a
No, I think you're right. No.
No, there's Creature of the Black. Wait, there was Creature of the Black Lagoon.
The fish guy.
Okay, there was a spin-off of a child book, like a children's book that was a spin-off of it. And that's why I'm wondering if Creature of the Black Lagoon. Lagoon. Right. Lagoon. It's Lagoon.
Yes, the Lagoon one.
Anyways,
you might be right. You're probably
Universal
right.
monster shebang.
And I've seen bits and pieces of Frankenstein, so I'm like, oh my God, they made a girlfriend for him. This is gonna be it. She's cool. She's
Feminism
looking
for the day.
great. So I'm thinking the movie's about her. I'm thinking, oh, okay, part two. Part two. How is she gonna get along with Frankenstein? Is this gonna be like a whole new thing? No.
I think it really sets
I'm
the
in.
tone with the intro when we don't even see the actress's name. It's question mark for
Yeah, we noticed that
who's
immediately.
yeah.
I think I got scammed genuinely, and it's my fault. I didn't see the movie. I blame myself. I blame myself. But how are you gonna name a movie The Bride of Frankenstein and have her in it for 5 minutes?
I know. That
5 minutes. Don't name the movie that.
was tragic. That was truly tragic. You got scammed. I don't what's the past tense of scammed? Scrumped? You were scrumped.
Scrumped.
So
It was
you were
midway.
scrumped. And but I think like because I bought you the pin. I've
I have a
contributed
shirt.
into this universal madness and everything like that, and then to find out like
But like also she had a house at Universal Halloween Horror Nights, I think, one year. She had a house.
Yeah.
Off of what? She was in the movie for 5 minutes before they killed her. First of all, she was also like a victim, like a victim. This woman got randomly murdered in the street
Oh yeah.
to be revamped, come alive again for an experiment, essentially, to get killed 5 minutes later for no reason. What was going on?
Well, and also too, I think it's so funny. Her acting is so weird. And
Yeah,
I read
she's
up on it. Apparently she was just trying to act like swans because swans are scary because they just go like and that's all she did before going like it's interesting and not at all what I expected from everyone who dresses up as the Bride of Frankenstein because I feel like it's like a kind of like a vintage staple for like Halloween and Halloween costumes, right? And for her
yes.
to only have like a solid 10 minutes of screen time. Screw her playing as Mary Shelley in the beginning and she's like, "Oh, Lord Byron, I'm going to write something interesting." I don't
Sucked.
care. What was that? What was that intro?
Sucked.
Just to give her 5 lines so she could be paid as an actress? What was that? So that
That movie sucked. I understand it's a classic. I understand they're part of the monsters. They did not give her nothing. Nothing.
yeah. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna burn your sweater and like
No,
throw it away?
I have to do something. You have to remake the movie.
I have to remake the movie.
Yeah, 100%. That's
You
what you have
didn't
to
like
do
a
for
movie,
me.
so now I am stuck with what would probably be because no one's asking for a Bride of Frankenstein remake except for
And they
you.
should.
They
And they
should.
should. Okay, if they're not asking for it, they didn't watch it. That's the thing. That you
That's
did not
true.
watch the movie. If you're not asking for this to be remade with plot and characters, you didn't see it.
Bestie, I would totally remake it and keep
Please.
everything the same.
No, that would be spiteful for me.
No, you
That
would
would be
absolutely go into like you would have a grippy soft moment for sure. You would be escorted off set.
Can you imagine
So
you're just hyping me up for you're like, yeah, do this and that, and it's gonna be
I'm
surprise
showing
for
you
you.
all the
It's the
behind the
same
scenes.
thing.
I'm giving you the first cut of the film, knowing damn well that's not how it's gonna be, just to tease you. I filmed extra scenes and everything. No, fortunately for you, I'm not that cynical. And yeah, like I mean it really was a bummer. It was a bummer, is all I can really say about it. Because you expect more. It's the Bride of Frankenstein. Meanwhile, it's Frankenstein Part 2 with him murmuring a lot and wanting a friend, getting a lady friend, remaining a virgin, and then killing everyone.
Yeah, no, he pretty much killed himself and
It's
her.
the basic 101 incel plot line. I mean, they got it all,
Disappointed, upset. I don't know what else to say.
I know.
Whoever made that, your
That's how I
career was a
felt during
sham.
Midsummer. I was that
Oh
intense about
yeah.
Midsummer, where I genuinely thought, like, because the power went out when we watched it in the movie theater for like 10 minutes and then it
That's
came back
right.
on. And I was like, this is a different movie. This sucks. Like, I love the first half of it. The second half, I hate. So, I mean, fine. I will take on this great task of remaking the movie. I already told you while we were watching the movie who I'd cast and everything like that. So you already have a pretty good idea who would be who. Do I know who would be the lead? Absolutely not. But we'll figure it out together. I'll give you approvals and everything to do. So yeah, that was a bummer movie, Bride of Frankenstein. Sorry. Not crapping on movies from that decade, but that one in particular was just
Sucked.
it doesn't live up to
Should not be of the
The
classic
times.
monsters collection. Should not be the classic mon. I'm sorry. No.
And now every time we go to Universal, you are going to have a conniption next to the Monsters Cafe because she's the only female. So she is slammed everywhere. They're like praised her because back in the day, every other woman in that film, she squeaked like a geese and then honked. Every other woman in that film went, oh, and then
Oh
slipped
yeah.
into a tizzy spell. Like, man, they just really thought women were just worthless. Just awful
Just there
back in
for
the
the
day.
dramatics. Just there for the dramatics.
Just there to look pretty and then do a little
scream.
fake fainting. Like, not, I've never met a person who's faint at something.
Me neither.
You know, unless it was like blood drawn, you know? Like, I've never met a person that just went like that, which is ridiculous. But okay, moving on. Barbarian. That was something that we watched in the theater a few weeks ago. We were trying to film this video and everything like that. Barbarian. Let's keep it a little spoiler free since it is fresh in the theaters and everything like that. Really good. Absolutely what I was not expecting.
Wild.
I don't think there's
ride.
anything anyone could have told me that I would have just been able to piece what the movie was about. But I think that's one of like the strongest elements of it is that everything, like the first half of the film is so misleading in the best way possible because it prepares you for something totally different, totally new, and just crazy and unexpected, right? And you know, they knew what they were doing by getting what's his name? Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
They got Bill Skarsgård in it. And they used his acting and his and the type of person who he is and like his filmography really well with this movie. I'd say they kind of used it as like a nice little surprise. So in terms of like I think we were comparing it a lot. The only thing really to compare it to is Tusk, not just for the fact that Justin Long is in it, but just the unpredictability and the madness of it all. So I mean, I really like Barbarian. What are your thoughts on Barbarian overall?
No, I really liked. I think if they didn't make this movie a surprise, I think a lot more people would have been not inclined to see it just because it's I don't think this would have drawn a lot of people. Like, I don't know if I would have saw if I knew what was going to happen, just because, you know, you're just like, oh, is that for me? Kind of like Tusk, right? Is that for me? But I think once you see it, you're like, this is really cool. And the movie is kind of like split into like, I'd say 2 parts.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was awesome. But I think something that we can take from Barbarian, just the film industry in general, is I feel like movies have gone to the habit of spoiling a lot of their movies in the trailers.
Oh, no, this one did really well with that. They did not reveal anything in the trailer. You think you know the whole thing. You think you go in like, oh yeah, I know this is how good and this person, the bad guy, they're gonna do some crazy stuff like this. Nope. No.
But it made the experience so much better. And I hope movies stop like putting half of the film into their trailer, because it really, you sit there and you're like, I remember this image from the movie, from the trailer, and now the whole movie is kind of spoiled. So I think in terms of horror, really too, like this is the best way to go.
Yeah, I also think that it was filmed really well. Like I liked, because there are some flashback scenes that I thought were utilized extremely well. And I really feel like the directing and the angles that were used elevated the level of storytelling happening and stuff. Because I feel like with horror movies, people get basic. People get very, very basic. They think that they can just show what's going on without having to do any movement, any type of flair, any type of like camera differences and stuff like that. And I really love Barbarian. In terms of horror movies I've seen, like new movies I've seen this year, I saw Black Phone too with you. I think I liked Barbarian more than Black Phone.
Yeah.
I like Black Phone, don't get me wrong, but like I liked Barbarian a lot more.
Yeah.
All right, so that's 2 movies. We got 2 more to go. Actually the 4th one is a bonus if there's no time ticking down and stuff like that says we have to sign off. We saw Clerks 3.
Oh
So
yeah.
this isn't going to be, I would never review Clerks 3 because I'm so damn partial
Yeah.
to Clerks 3 and everything like that because I got to work on it for a day. But overall, I do honestly like out of all of Kevin's films, I think it's one of the strongest ones or one of the most strongest ones that he's made in several years. And like, look, not to, Tusk is a strong film. Tusk is a strong film on its own, okay? But in
Big Tusk
terms of
fans.
like when people think of Kevin Smith's greatest stuff, they think Clerks and Chasing Amy, right? I do feel like Clerks 3 kind of fits in that realm of like some of Kevin's best writing. Tusk will always be number one. Do not get that twisted. Do not get it questioned. Tusk will
Yeah.
always be number one. But I didn't work on Tusk. I wish I did. I wish I did, man. But I worked on Clerks 3. And essentially, if you watch Clerks 3, and if you watch, there's a nice little montage scene with all the little fancy celebrities. And there's one celebrity in particular that I was there for the filming of, and that was none other than Kevin's mother. I was flown out to New Jersey to help film it because she couldn't go originally during the actual filming because COVID and everything like that. She's older, she has some issues, stuff like that. So I went out and I got to help and I got to be part of like a little second crew. And so because of that, I didn't really, I was thinking to myself, I was telling Savannah, I was like, I didn't sign any paperwork. They don't have to give me credit. I didn't sign an NDA. They're not, my name's not going to be in it. I also, my dumb brain I think I've known Kevin for about 4 years now. My brain said, he doesn't know how to spell my name.
But there it is.
There it is. So if
Right
you
here.
ever decide to see the movie, whether it be in theaters, DVD and stuff with during that credit scroll, under the special thanks to, you'll see my name, which is really awesome. And I was so happy that he, remembered to put me in it and stuff like that for the IMDb credits. But also it was just super fun to work on and everything. And I definitely think because Kevin's been focusing a lot of like fun films, like Reboot is a fun film. He made a film a few years ago that still hasn't been released. I don't know what's going on with it. But it is called Kilroy Was Here. Those are more fun films. This is definitely a more hearty film is how I would say. But I'm so partial. I need to hear a slightly, I mean, you're still going to be partial because of me. I know you. But overall,
I get less bias.
well, and also you only saw Clerks. You didn't see Clerks 2, right?
I only saw Clerks, yes.
Okay.
So
what did you think about Clerks 3?
I think the one thing I think I liked about it was he had a way of making it to where if you didn't see the movie for a long time, or even if you've never seen the movie, you can kind of piece a lot of these things together.
Yeah.
It wasn't a hard movie to catch up on, but I really loved the movie because I thought it was sort of like a love letter to New Jersey. And that was awesome because they're, New Jersey, who talks about New Jersey outside of New Jersey? So I think that was great. And you could tell he really cares for his characters. And the actors care about their characters. So that was really nice to see. Like everybody genuinely felt like it's been 30 years and they still felt like their characters. And it's very hard to make a movie, I guess like the third or second movie 30 years later. It's very hard. And a lot of the times it doesn't work. We're seeing a lot of that stuff now. We're seeing like a bunch of reboots of things.
Or it doesn't stand up on its own legs. I feel like this movie is like, because Clerks is very different. Clerks is from 23, 25-year-old Kevin. This Clerks 3 is from 50-year-old Kevin, who's gone through a lot of life and everything. So I feel like it's aged. It's a good, for him, it was a good project to revisit because he was able to bring something new to it.
And I feel like there was a point to it. It wasn't just another reboot. It wasn't just for the sake of bringing back Clerks. There was a lot of meaning and it felt like a lot of different, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but there was a lot of heart in it. And I think, like you were saying, as a movie, it stands up on its own. And I was very impressed I definitely was impressed.
I cried.
Yeah,
twice because I've seen it twice. So yeah, I mean, if you support, I don't get residuals. I wish I would just have 3 little skimpy lines just to be SAG affiliated and bleed Smodco dry, but I can't. But if you just want to say, hey, I know a person and get some street cred, Go see Clerks 3 for some street cred. That's about as much as I can give you though. But overall, yeah, like I really enjoyed it, but it's one of those things where we can't do like a full, oh yeah, I'd rate this or this because we're so partial to it. And I think we have some time left. The last movie that I put on here, because I'm telling you right now, because Savanna told me that she got off of Twitter. And I firmly believe this movie is one of the reasons why she got off of Twitter. And that movie is Blonde. So, Savannah, you watched the first 20 minutes of it. I'm not a masochist. I'm not going to put myself through that. So,
Listen,
please tell me what you thought of the first 20 minutes.
This movie has been bullying me for a year. I went on TikTok last year and I said, hey, I don't think this is going to go in the right direction because the director's saying some weird stuff. And it's NC-17, bullied on TikTok. People were like, well,
Dude,
who wants a PG?
I was stopped for 3 days.
I know, you were trying to defend me. God bless you. And
I didn't even start a fight. I just said like, oh yeah, well, the book was already like adapted into a TV series that failed. And this one dude was like, shut up. And he stalked me and my boyfriend for 3 days.
This movie has been harassing us. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy to see. Like, it's very, I guess, almost, it's not even validating to see how many people are like, oh, this maybe wasn't a good idea. It is just so, like, when you really, so I watched the first 20 minutes. I'll start with that.
Yeah.
The first 20 minutes of this movie is supposed to be, I'm not going to even say about, it's supposed to be Marilyn Monroe's childhood with her mentally ill mother.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, it is the most, I really feel like it's probably the most disrespectful interpretation they could have put out there. You see this woman trying to kill her daughter. You see very graphic portrayals of abuse. You see her mom naked for no reason. It's just shirt off, naked. I turned it off because I'm like, this is only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I went on Twitter and TikTok and seeing a lot more of what this movie has to say. And keep in mind, Blonde was supposed to be a feminist portrayal of Marilyn's story. And it's only pretty much spit in the face of what she did as a human being.
Yeah, it's overall, because I think there's a bigger picture, like, and of course this is something that we wouldn't review, like, because we're not going to watch it, but we'll talk about it and talk about our feelings of why we wouldn't review it and why we wouldn't watch it, right? And a lot of people say like, oh, like, you can't give your opinion on something that you didn't watch fully. Yes, I can. I totally can. You can't stop me. When you watch a trailer, you think, oh, that's going to be fantastic. It probably looks so good. And it might be crap, like, you're able to have opinions on these types of things. We're not going to do, like I said, the full review just out of respect for it, because that's not how movie reviewing goes and stuff like that. But we can say what we know about the film and how we know that it deviates so far from the truth of a real person, a person and her whose family and herself are no longer here to defend. So at that point, like, and I'm talking about it with you because I watched the full Dahmer series, right? I like the series a lot. I thought it was done pretty well considering how graphic it was and everything. And I thought it did a really good job at showing the flaws of what happened and highlighting things of that time. And like, there's a big controversy around that, like, oh, the victims didn't consent and stuff like that. And we were kind of talking about it. I think there's a difference between making a movie based on factual things, actual evidence, reports and everything that maybe people did not just want to see because of victims and stuff like that, versus taking an entirely what's known as a, fictitious reality of a star, creating fake scenarios throughout her life and having no one be able to defend her while she's dead. And she's been dead for God knows, like 60 years now,
But I think the issue really is, like you were saying, like, it's not like when you make historical fiction where you have to kind of like, okay, maybe they said this. You have to kind of insert dialogue and maybe some storylines for the fluff. They are pretty much insinuating that there was abuse by people where there might have not abuse been from. They're talking about how she, how abortions when there weren't abortions, like very traumatic things that never happened. And they really just hone on the fact that she was a victim all the time, that this woman was never happy. She was miserable. She was being abused all the time, when She was a very smart woman. I'm sure there was trauma in her life, that's no doubt.
Yeah.
She was mixed up in a lot of things, but she was a businesswoman. She had a production company. And from what I understand, that's not in the movie.
No,
We're just talking about
that's
make-believe
not what people
trauma.
are going to talk about, regardless of whether or not it's shown. That's not what people are going to highlight
No.
on. At least with something like Dahmer, people are going to highlight the fact that, and people might watch that movie and go, "Oh my God, I didn't know almost all of Dahmer's victims were Black gay men. I thought it was blah blah blah." You might learn actual information that is true because it's all been reported and stuff like that for the past 30 years or so. Whereas this is literally taking, like, and keep in mind, this is also coming from the person who wrote the original novel had no connection to Marilyn whatsoever. This director has also stated that he himself has never really seen many Marilyn Monroe movies or did much research about her. There was an article, and it was on a Twitter thread that I had showed you, where pretty much a woman was saying, like, "Oh yeah, like I still watch Marilyn Monroe movies. They're so glamorous and things like that." And the director literally said, "Well, they're just glamorous whores." Like, how
But why
many
make
red
it?
flags did this dude have to show? And how many people allowed it to bypass in order for him to make this film, you know?
I think the worst thing is when press about this movie first came out, when I first talked about it, I was very nervous because one of the comments he made was, "Well, who doesn't want to see an N-17 Marilyn Monroe movie?" When the reason it's N-17 is because there are severe rape scenes. And
Yeah.
she is
It's not even consensual. And if you ever
so
notice too, if anything, like for example, Last Tango in Paris, it is one of my favorite movies. It's not for everyone and it's deeply flawed. It was rated NC-17 because of a rape scene. Like it's thank God it's not glorified, but here's a person trying to glorify and sexualize rape scenes. And it's so weird, like it's just so messed up. And honestly, I saw someone screenshotted the clip. And look, this seems so ridiculous. I do question its validity about her, and she's pregnant or with the abortion and the baby and the fetus talking to her. First of all, that scene was so shitty. It was so poorly written, even if that was so true in real life, right? Poorly written. It sucked. But on top of that, how are you going to try to make a feminist film and guilt your main lead into her having an abortion when she never had abortions in the first place? It was
that's
well
very sad
documented
to
that she
me.
had endometriosis, and every pregnancy she had, she wanted. And you're going to then
It's like
make
mocking. Yeah.
mock her for having the abortions, mock her for having miscarriages, change it to abortions, and then mock her again by saying, like, having little imaginary fetuses going, "Oh, this was your fault. You should have kept me." What?
It's just very sad because you're uh, whether or not like anti-abort like that's beside the case for me. Regardless, like
Yeah.
this woman wanted kids all her life, and now you're gonna make some fantasy up. Like you're gonna, oh yeah, like this maybe happened to her. She was dealing
They
with stuff.
genuinely, they
What?
could have, they want this movie, right? They want this movie so bad. They could have just created a fictitious looking celebrity, given fake names and all this stuff, and create a fake Hollywood story because that's what it is. They
That they
did
could have
not
just done
have
that.
to, because here's the
That's a
thing.
good point.
Even though that this movie and everything, if you look at the credits, Marilyn is never titled as Marilyn. It's Norma Jean, which is also messed up because she never got to trademark her name. So they can use Norma Jean all they want, even though it is synonymous with Marilyn, because she only trademarked Marilyn, not Norma Jean. They could have, if they wanted to do it like loosely inspired by, or even like just do like get a Marilyn Monroe, but change the names completely and maybe not show like her filming like the white dress scene and like with the fan and everything like that and all those things, they could have done that. They easily could have done that, but they didn't. And I think it was all
Yeah.
just for shock value. And I
Yeah.
think this director is really just getting off on it. And it's shameful because once again, here is a woman who has no voice and who can't be spoken up on behalf because she has no family members. She has no living family members right now. I think maybe a half sister or something like that, but she's got to be in like her 80s or 90s right
Yeah.
now. So it's very, very complex, complicated, and it's one of those things too where they can't even be sued because they're showing Marilyn Monroe, they're showing her likeness up the wazoo, but they changed it to Norma Jean. So
I just feel like when we start, like, everything about Marilyn, except I think maybe one or two projects, has really harped on her trauma. And although that was a part of her life, like, she was much more than being a sex icon, and then much more than having some mental problems. And
if
I
they
think
did
that's
this
what's
with
sad.
Elvis, if Priscilla and the whole Presley clan were not around and they did this with Elvis, where they took like fictitious
Yeah.
stuff, let's say they made Elvis a serial abuser, maybe killed a person, all these types of things, right? People would be up in arms. People would be screaming, shouting from the rooftops, this movie cannot be made. And if that was the case, because Priscilla and so many of the Presley family is still around, they would be able to have a voice. I think personally, they decided to take this blonde book that no one's touched in 20 something years because it failed, and decided to do it because they just could. They
Yeah.
could without any repercussions. And you know, what's more juicy than a 1950s starlet getting abortion, taking pills, mental illness, and all these things when it's that she didn't need to be the star. There are Hollywood actresses that did all that stuff. Get consent and go focus on them then. That's their story. If they want that shown, if it's the truth, then show it. But don't start adding fake stories to someone who does not have a voice right now to even defend
No,
themselves to.
just very dehumanizing. I feel very sad. I hope somebody sees that and decides to do something right and make a better film or a
Yeah,
better
I just
show.
hope, you know, I just really, really hope, and I sadly think it might. I don't know. I just really hope that this is not something that's going to be award worthy
No,
or, you know, get some
absolutely not.
Oscar nomination. Because it's not right. It's
No.
not right, you know? And I can even, and people can argue the same thing for like Dahmer, which I agree with. I could understand that. But this one too, you just can't. You can't.
Yeah, I hope not
And
either.
it's and I compared Dahmer and Blonde because they're both at the same time. They're vastly different. Marilyn Monroe, Jeffrey Dahmer, two
No,
different
yeah,
sides of the
yeah,
coin. But in terms of biographies for people
yeah,
who cannot speak on their behalf,
right.
at least one is fictitious. One adheres to the truth as much as possible, whereas the other is just blatant lies. Like my thing is too, from the parental guide, there is a rape scene with JFK. Are Kennedys
Mm,
not going to speak out against this? Because there are living Kennedys around still. Like, also, they never had a relationship. There was just the little Mr. President thing, and they
yeah, there
met
are
like three
rumors.
other times in 10 years.
You see, that's the issue again. We're making things up, and I maybe through the grapevine, maybe that's always been a rumor, but like, we cannot do that. We genuinely
Yeah.
cannot do that.
I really wonder though, if they really knew Marilyn, I really wonder, like, or if they even did anything, right? Anything like type of research or something like that. The one person who did have a 10-year affair with Marilyn was Marlon Brando. I wonder if they tried squeezing in a Marlon Brando like character in all of this because he was one of the last people to talk to her before
Yeah,
she passed.
yeah,
So there's so many things too. There's also they probably washed away her Jewish heritage and all those things because she did. I believe she converted to
yeah.
Judaism in her
She
20s and
converted.
everything,
She's
but I'm
yeah.
sure that's all washed away and that's not going to be any type of highlight of it, you know, which is
No, of
just
course they don't. It's just the whole thing is a mockery of
yeah.
her, and I feel very sad that they did not mention her being Jewish. Like nothing of her hair, nothing of her background besides
Yeah.
her mother being mentally ill, and it's kind of like,
So, if any of you guys who are listening who have watched Blonde, gave it a shot, please let us know what you think. Did they actually include any type of real element from her life that has been known to be confirmed besides just the productions and everything that she was a part of? I
yeah,
would really want, I can't bring myself to watch it. I can't. It's just one of those
no,
things
I don't
where
recommend it. I don't recommend.
I've read the parental guide. It just seems I just feel like I'm gonna just be uncomfortable watching this movie, you
Yeah,
know. And I've watched a crazy movies,
yeah,
okay? But the fact that I also know that this is also just deeply rooted in a lot of lies too really adds
no.
another element to it. So if you've seen Blonde or are going to see Blonde or anything, please add some discourse and stuff. And look, if you go see Blonde, I don't blame you. It's a hot topic right now. People want to see it and get their own opinion on it. But yeah, like just keep it cool. Like don't get we don't like the way it's going. If you loved it, if you think it's an incredible performance, whatever it may be, that's your own prerogative. We have our own reasons. Savannah's gonna go a little head nod like how she did, but we have to wrap this up and we have to go. Thank you guys so much for listening. This video, a little small version of it, was very fun to do. And check out our links down below, and we will see you next time for a regular old podcast recording.
Bye.